Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to show you how to get 1 million subscribers and get monetized in just 5 months with these 8 tips, just like I did. I'm just going to be real with you here. This video is going to be about the experience of an average YouTuber like myself over their first year on YouTube. I'm not going to try to sell you something. I'm not going to say if you just do these 5, 6, 7 things and the magic will happen. I'm not somebody who had a ton of success and thinks if you just do these things that you'll have success. I want to speak to the average YouTuber out there who is either trying to get onto YouTube and thinking about starting a channel, or already has started a channel and is going through all the same things that I'm going to talk about in this video. But regardless, I think it's time to get real and go over all the things that the average YouTuber goes through as they try to make their way through the algorithm and get viewers and subscriptions over time. So this is going to be the story of the average YouTuber after their first year. Welcome back to Thinking and Being. Well, it's been 1 year. That year went by pretty fast. And this is my video number 50. So that's pretty cool. 1 year went by, 50 long form videos, and a whole handful of shorts clipped from those long form videos. I was hoping by this time in the channel that we'd have a nice birthday present. Maybe a lot of subs, maybe our first 20,000, 25,000 view video, maybe significant progress towards getting to that monetization level where you get 4,000 hours of viewing and 1,000 subs, but it's just not the case because for the average YouTuber, things are different. You see, the funny thing is, all the good news stories you see on YouTube are because the algorithm already chose them. You're not getting all the stories put in front of you about the average YouTuber. So if this video reaches you, first of all, it's a miracle. And second of all, you're going to want to hear this because this is the average experience. The reality of YouTube and praying to the almighty algorithm, that reality is setting in. With my channel, my views have slowly but surely basically gone to zero recently. I don't know if this happens to other people. You can chime in and comment below if this is also happening to you as well. So if we go by the data alone, apparently I'm not very good at this. But honestly, that's okay because this kind of story just doesn't get told often enough. So I started this channel because I wanted to get out of my head all the crazy things that are in it around things like philosophy and psychology and consciousness and physics and systems thinking and all the connections in between that people don't typically make. And so I think I've stayed true to that for the most part. Ultimately, this channel was about helping people see things differently, provide different ways of thinking, and kind of show the importance of being, but also the importance of reflecting on your lived experience. I never started this because I wanted to be a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever. I really would just love to get to the point where this could be my full-time job, where I could pay the bills with the YouTube channel. I think that's a realistic goal for most people considering doing YouTube. So today I'm going to go through what the average YouTuber like myself goes through in the first year, what that experience was actually like, why I might not be getting as many views as I really want, what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong, and then based on all this, give some lessons learned and tips for you, the viewer, who is thinking about doing YouTube or is, like me, an average YouTuber. But hopefully those tips can help you jump ahead and not make the same mistakes that I did. And this video is going to be a little different than what I've done in the past. I don't even have structured material prepared for it, just a list of topics I want to talk about in my book. For the 8 of you who are going to stick around and watch this entire video, buckle up. All right, let's talk about views and subs. So right now it looks like my channel is at 850 subscribers, and it looks like it goes up. Goes up like 1 person per day, maybe 2 people per day. 850 subscribers over 365 days. That's roughly 3 per day. not really good performance. And I'll show you what I'm seeing here. So for example, in the last month or so, I've got 17,000 views, about 50 hours of watch time, and an additional 27 subscribers, which honestly is really not that good. The other challenge I see is most of my viewers are brand new. So it seems like the algorithm is struggling to find viewers that like my material. More to follow on that. So looks like I don't have returning viewers, and that's obviously a challenge and a problem. And then if you just look at my content here, for example, so just a few months after starting the channel, I had an 8,700 view video. That was my best performing video. As recent as August, I had a 3,000 plus view video. And since then, so you kind of see it kind of trails off. So as we go more recent, there was a handful of videos in the mid couple hundred views, and then it got pretty low, and then it peaked up back in the mid couple hundred views a couple times, and then it kind of just slowly declined. And over the last 2 months, slowly but surely, basically down to 0 views. If you see the number 40, 77, 76, basically that means 0. That means AI viewed your video and then threw it away, and it couldn't find the right viewer for the video. And interestingly, many of my videos have less views than my one son, who posted literally one video in his video gaming YouTube channel 8 years ago, which got 183 views.
Hello, this is the Kitten Gamer, and today I'm going to do a video of some multiplayer. This is a game called Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2.
And most of my videos have less views than my other son's best performing gaming video from 7 or 8 years ago, which got 1,046 views.
Hey, what is up, guys? It is TB here. I'm coming back at you with another video. Today we are doing some more Fortnite Battle Royale. Hopefully, I can do pretty well. As you can see, I don't have any partners. I'm playing solo for this first game.
So at least they did well. I've seen a few videos on this, and I'm not sure if this is one of the main reasons, but there's been a shift over the last few months on YouTube towards putting shorts out on the main screen on your laptop, or if you go on your phone, there's more real estate basically dedicated to shorts now than to long form videos. So for whatever reason, YouTube is making an effort to entice people to go into shorts more often than into long form. This is interesting because if you look at my shorts, typically my shorts get about 1,000 views. And I think that's more or less a baseline. If you get less than 1,000 views in a short, it's basically 0. A handful of them over the last few months have stayed pretty steady around 1,000 or more views. The average is lower. There's a few bombs out there, but have not seen a significant decline in the shorts. For whatever reason, YouTube is pushing the shorts. And the way I've done it historically is I typically do 1 video a week long form, and then I do 2-3 video shorts dumps per week based on my long form stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't get by on that because number one, it's not enough watch time to get to monetization. Even if I link each short to a long form video, which I do, and you should as well, it doesn't do much for the subs. But I will say I probably get most of my subscriptions from shorts. So that's maybe one of the few things keeping me alive. But again, if I could just get more views on the long form, I think I would get far more subs than I would from shorts. So I gotta fix my long form problem. My favorite videos were the ones where I put a lot of time and thought into those videos, where I spent a lot of time outlining, structuring, and I had a lot of original thoughts built into them, which helps with the actual presentation of the video because what comes through is authentic original thought. My favorite videos include things like the double slit experiment video, which happens to also be my best performing video. So I think that's an interesting data point that the one that I had the most fun making actually was my best performing video. I also like doing my compilation and documentary videos about my experience in Philadelphia after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, or my documentary video about what's happening to malls in America, where I actually just took advantage of my travel and took a bunch of videos at a couple different malls around the country and put that into a video to kind of see what the patterns were across the country around malls dying, basically, which I think is very interesting because malls are super nostalgic for me. So those were probably some of my favorite videos. There's other videos where I kind of assessed a pattern, for example, and I had fun doing that as well. An example would be my video about near-death experiences. That one was fun because I took my time, watched a lot of other content, assessed patterns, and then was able to report out the patterns that I saw in, for example, near-death experiences. Those were some of my favorite videos. The best performing videos, on the other hand, my favorite videos have some overlap with my best performing. Definitely the double slit experiment video like I talked about, which I recommend you go check out. And the documentary about the future of malls was also well performing. But two other videos that did well was videos where I talked about the current state of the economy and things that Generation Z can expect and what white-collar workers can expect as AI changes the landscape of the job market. And Gen AI can now do a lot of the jobs that white-collar workers took for granted. So those also did well. We're talking about one video with almost 10,000 views, one video with basically 3,000 views, and it goes down from there. So not super well performing. But overall, I think the videos in which I took more time to prepare and put more thought into it, they genuinely did better. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk real quick about channel themes. So like I said, there's themes of things like psychology and philosophy and systems thinking and trends in the world like AI and how economics are changing. I don't love videos, even though they did well, I don't love doing videos about complaining about the economy, but because sometimes it comes across that way. But there are things in the world that we need to make sense of, and that's that reflection on lived experience that I mentioned earlier in this video, which is the theme of this channel. I think these themes are still valid. The reason I worry about themes is because when the algorithm is trying to find an audience, it's trying to narrow down into a specific group of people that want to see a certain thing. So like if I was doing videos on advice about health and diet and supplements, like that's an obvious audience for that. So the algorithm doesn't really have a hard time finding an audience for that. Because I've chosen these themes where things like deathbed, why you should start with the end in mind, and how we weren't designed for this, and how social media overwhelms us and causes a lot of anxiety and stress, and how the world is a vampire, and how the lyrics of Smashing Pumpkins is actually true in a lot of ways and it's getting worse, and how you see the world affects your reality, and how there's energy everywhere, according to Nikola Tesla. I think these are cool topics, and I'm just going to keep going with them because it doesn't fit into a perfect category within YouTube, but it's probably some other, quote-unquote, other category. I think if things go well in the future, I'll have this great backlog of videos that people can go to and learn more about these various topics. But I think if I could wrap a single sentence around what the theme of this channel is, again, it's lived experience and reflecting on that lived experience in different ways through different lenses of philosophy, psychology, consciousness, reality. But if you think there's a better name for the theme of what my channel is, so I can update it and help my algorithm, please comment below. Next, let's talk about format and some of the experiments I've done. The typical format for my videos, as you'll see in many of them, is sort of like a 3-part 15 to 20 minute video where I talk about the state of something, I talk about how that state affects people, and then I give tips and advice on how to avoid that bad state. So you'll see that pattern throughout. You'll see a lot of sometimes funny clips that get put in. You'll see a lot of AI B-roll, thanks to things like ChatGPT, Sora. I like to do an intro. I use LUMA AI for my intros. I like to do them in most of my videos. I don't do them in every video now because I'm experimenting. They're weird, and I like weird, so I'm probably going to keep it for most of my videos. I also used to do a YouTube shout out in a lot of my videos to another creator because I think that's good for YouTube overall, and it's Those people that I've learned from deserve credit, so you should learn about them as well. And I've also done a few videos where I practice, if I ever get monetized, talking about products I like, even though I'm not getting paid. Just because I thought that those were unique elements that you don't see on YouTube. Especially since most videos today, YouTube provides the advertisements and you don't need to pitch products explicitly. But I'm actually more interested in knowing what products are being pitched by doing it myself than letting an algorithm decide what ads should be shown at different parts of my video. So we'll see how that goes in the future. The other formats that I do another shorter format from 10 to 12 minutes, which is a little more of a less structured, here's a problem or a crazy idea and what I think about it and what you can do about it. And then I've been experimenting with a new format where it's like 6 to 8 minutes and sort of like this urgent run-on message. And so a little bit more of like a ramble-on type of video. I try to have hooks in most of my videos because of that, because the first 3 to 5 seconds of a video is so important. I try to really hook people in. My videos are ultimately not performing well, so I need to do probably something about the hooks. But again, I'm trying not to lay down to the algorithm gods and totally redo my content just so I can grab your attention and be over animated and yell at you just like I did in the beginning of this video, but jokingly. So I've kept this format. This is what I would call the talking head format, where it's just me talking to you, the viewer. There's a few shorts where you see me walking around a neighborhood and walking and talking. I'm probably going to experiment with that a little bit more in some of my shorts. I think the moving background keeps people's attention. As far as thumbnails go, you'll see the progression of my thumbnails. Early on, it was just a picture of me in a frame from the video with 2 words. And then I made it a little more jazzy, a little more, using Canva, putting, the words a little bit bigger, 2 or 3 words, and just on the side, a picture of myself. Then I changed to a thumbnail version where it's like a AI-generated background and an AI-generated face, a thumbnail title that grabs people's attention, and then a little logo with the astronaut and the green notebook, which basically is my thinking and being logo. And then more recently, I've played around with a few different other formats because basically my views are at 0 and it doesn't matter. I think more or less I'm going to go back to putting my face on the thumbnail because it's my YouTube channel and I'm the one speaking, and it kind of sets the tone of what people expect. I was following the format of one of my favorite YouTube channels, the Y-Files, for that one format. Works for them, it's not really working for me, so I'm just gonna keep experimenting at this point. So next, let's talk about lighting. So you'll see early on in my videos, my lighting situation basically was I was recording during the day, kind of like I am now, trying to take advantage of the sunlight coming in. So it's basically kind of washed out, pretty bright. Background is bright, I'm bright, and I kind of blend in with the background. And so that's most of my videos. More recently, I've been using a key light. It's sitting right next to me, up high. It's got a diffuser on it. The diffuser gets rid of the shadow, so I don't have shadows running behind me. Also, it has a grid, so it has that directionality, so the key light doesn't light up my background, and my background can stay kind of dark. But you'll notice from YouTubers like Kevin Colby, and which I'll show here, and Tim Runia, from their videos, they have that classic, basically dark background and lit up face kind of format as far as lighting goes. There's a lot of videos and evidence around if you do that format, it's usually better because your face isn't blending in with the background. So that was something I was trying to get around and get away from. Given the 2 formats of like daytime and kind of zoomed out and kind of behind the desk and everything is light format, I'm going to keep some elements of that, but I'm also going to keep a key light that I'm using now to give that kind of Rembrandt, one side of my face lit and the other side a little bit darker look that everyone seems to naturally crave. Also in my background, you'll see there's some things that are lit up elements. I haven't changed the background much, but I do have something that changes color in the background. So there's some evidence that having things in the background that move or change color or light up and turn off can keep people's attention. I'm trying that out. As I've looked at YouTubers like Kevin Colby and others, I've been able to keep my attention because sometimes my eyes wander into their backgrounds and as they're talking. And so having some element of things to look at in the background, I think is generally good, as long as it's not super distracting and takes away from your face, because people have to have a place to come back to and not trail off. Next, let's talk about equipment. For the past year, I've been using my own personal cell phone, my iPhone 13, to do all my filming, and it's been working great. iPhones are really good cameras. It just flat out, they're really good. I've been able to do 4K, super high res, great videos. When you appear on a large screen on YouTube, you can see all the detail on the screen. It's pretty impressive. So I've had no issues there, and so no reason to run off and get a Sony, Z1F, whatever, special, podcast camera with extra screen where you can see yourself on the side. I don't think that that's necessary. Because of that, I'm going to keep using my iPhone to record over the next year until something changes. The only challenge there is I tend to turn my antenna off, so an incoming phone call won't disturb my recording, so that's something to keep in mind. Also, with the iPhone, you can use cinematic video, which allows me to be in focus and my background to be slightly out of focus, which provides kind of a better video experience, which I've changed to recently, and I tend to really like that format, the way it comes out. And then when it comes to a mic, I use a Hollyland Lark M2, which is a wireless mic. It's sitting here on my shirt, just using a magnet. And the dongle is on my phone. And so I like just having one file with audio and video. You don't have to do it that way, but I like it that way. It's just less work for me, and it's worked really well. My early microphone was not as good. This one is better, and it limits the echo that's in my very echoey apartment, which, by the way, slightly out of sight behind the camera here, there's a whole bunch of these, which is absorbing as much sound as possible. And if you listen to me now, and then listen to me now, which was, you can kind of tell the difference, which is better. But if I could just hold this, that would be great. But now you know why this material is on microphones, because it limits that echo. Ultimately, I can put links to all my equipment in the description below so you can see what that is. But I think this microphone was maybe $100. My key light altogether was about $100. These phone panels were about $60. My iPhone's my iPhone. I'm staying pretty cheap on the equipment, and I don't think the equipment is a factor in my YouTube performance. All right, so what did I get right and what did I get wrong over the last year? First, I think I got right on a few occasions how much effort I put into my videos. So typically, if I put full effort into a video from start to finish, if you're wondering how much time it takes to make a video, so from when I put my first note down on my notebook to thinking about it, to putting it on, cue cards for a prompter. So I put them on PowerPoint, and then I have a screen behind the phone, which I'm not using now. Putting those onto a prompter, getting those cue cards set up, then recording, and then all the editing, and then all the posting. From start to finish, that takes about 8 to 10 hours for a thorough video. Now, obviously, if you're like me and you're an average YouTuber, number one, you have a life and family responsibilities, and so that's going to take your time. You also have a very demanding day job, which is going to take your time. And so obviously, as you're starting out, there's a struggle. There's a dichotomy of more effort put in, better quality comes out. And you've got to deal with that in some way. So I don't think it's bad to use some level of Gen AI as in that process, and those 8 to 10 hours, which can bring the whole process down to 5 or 6 hours, sometimes as little as 4 hours, depending on how you want to do your videos, if you want to do less editing, for example. You got to be careful if you use things like AI to take out some of that authenticity and effort, it may be reflected in your videos. That may be one of the areas where I got wrong, in the sense that in the preparation of videos, I used AI to think for me in terms of some of the structure and how I wanted to say things. I'm going to try to back off that quite a bit. And if you use AI, that's fine, but just make sure that your inputs are shaping the logical structure of what you want to say. And then when you put that out on an outline or a cue card, You're just putting key ideas out there to tease you of what you should be saying next, rather than reading a pure script that might have been written by AI. So ultimately, on effort, I need to find a happy medium between putting the right effort in and dealing with the challenging amount of time that I have, or lack of time that I have, to do YouTube as I grow in the channel. If I'm monetized and I can live off of YouTube, I'm going to be putting way more effort into YouTube, and I certainly hope to do that in the future. Second, I think what needs to be better along the lines of effort is sort of the authenticity of how the content comes through to the viewer. So there's a YouTuber, her name is Brenda Turner, and I'll put a link to one of her videos in the description below. She talks about talking through the camera to the viewer as if it's just you and the viewer. And that is something that I think makes a lot of sense. I believe if you can talk to the camera on YouTube as if you're just talking to a friend or a confidant or a pal, and you're just having a conversation, it needs to come through like that, or else you're just gonna lose viewers. But if I talk like, you too could have 500,000 subs if you just follow these 5 steps. You know, there's a lot of animated people out there. Somehow they're getting all the views, but also they're just not super authentic. I wanna watch somebody on YouTube that would talk to me as if I was talking to them in person and not be super animated. So personally, I'm not gonna go down that animated road, I don't think, unless I'm joking around like I just did. The more that you can make what you're trying to get across sound like an authentic conversation between you and the viewer, the better your videos are gonna do, because that holds attention. And by the way, if you're following a script too closely, that'll also show through in your videos. But if I am just staring at you as I talk and my eyes aren't moving around naturally because I'm thinking of things as I'm talking, that's the difference between someone following a script and someone speaking authentically. If someone's looking at you and not looking away while they talk to you, well, it probably means they're using a script. I think that comes through, and that matters. I think, at least for the next few months, I'm gonna stay true to the themes of this channel and just be positive about my audience forming while I work on the other things I just talked about, the effort and the authenticity. And also just make sure I don't rush into filming, because sometimes I've done that. I've got to get this done in 2 hours. Let's just get something out. Don't let the thought that I need to post every week or every 5 days or every 3 days pressure you into putting out a video that is junk. And I think I've done that before. I can't really say which videos, but you just want to avoid that. So overall, I think the quality is good for where I am. You know, if you look across my YouTube channel and scroll through the different videos, I think the quality is pretty good. And honestly, if I was doing better in terms of subscriptions and views, I'd probably think my quality was not that good, because I'd only feel pressure to do even better if I was at a better state. So what's the advice for you, the average YouTuber or the viewer who is considering getting on YouTube? First, I would say just get over the awkwardness of being on camera and hearing yourself talk. Just get over it. It's gonna be weird for a while, but it gets better with practice over and over again. It won't matter anymore. The interesting thing about YouTube is, and in life, is the less you worry about how you sound and how you appear, the better you actually do. Whether that's speaking in a public place, or being on YouTube, or performing in general in your job, the less you worry about what other people think, the better you actually do. As much as you think people are thinking about you and analyzing you, as soon as people turn the video off and go do something else, they're gonna forget about you. People do not think about you as much as you think they do. Next, I think a quote really sums up the next piece of advice, which is, I think it goes something like, I'd rather lose in originality than succeed in imitation. So the bottom line there is, be yourself. At the end of the day, and Kevin Colby actually has a great video on this, if people wanted to see a YouTuber like Mr. Beast, or a YouTuber like Mr. Ballin, or somebody like the Y-Files, they're not gonna watch you, they're just gonna watch those channels, which are doing immensely well. So don't try to be somebody else on YouTube. Try to be yourself. Then people need to go to you to see and what you bring to YouTube. Next piece of advice I would say is, don't be a sage on the stage. Be more like a guide on the side. I learned this quote from a facilitation class I took recently. You can have the talking head format, but don't try to come through like you're the authority on something, or like you're lecturing people on something, or that people should listen to you. When I say guide on the side, it's that two-way you and the viewer conversation, you speaking through the camera and having just a natural, authentic conversation with somebody. But also, more importantly, you're not worried about yourself. You have to make all your content, or most of your content, about the viewer. So I need to be thinking about you. I need to be doing things that help you. I need to be talking about things that you care about. So just keep that in mind. As a YouTuber, you just need to keep your audience top of mind. Most of the ideas that you get across have to be helping the viewer. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I hear over and over, and I also believe, is keep going. So I'm a year in, 50 long form videos. At this point, I just got to keep going. A lot of really good YouTubers today started out much slower than I did and performed much worse than I did. But also, don't just keep going, but experiment and have fun along the way. So be authentic in your presentation, put thought and effort into your outlining and structure and ideas, think about the viewer, and then experiment and have fun along the way and keep going. And interestingly enough, as we know from studies around the journey of expertise, you'll go through phases. You'll go through phases where you know what you're doing, you feel like you know what you're doing, and you're on point, and everything's great. And then as you get better at what you're doing, you'll go through phases where you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and you feel like you're losing it, and like you have to relearn. But that honestly is the classic growth pattern. As you get better at something, you're gonna go through phases of imposter syndrome, like I don't deserve to be doing this well, or I shouldn't even be on YouTube. So just keep going. Don't worry about those silly patterns. Ride those waves, good and bad, and just keep going. So overall, after a year, I'm ultimately not where I wanna be, but I can't give up, even when it feels like I'm posting videos and they're going nowhere, to no one. All right, so that's my first year on YouTube in my Thinking and Being channel. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. Comment below with any other advice that you have from being an average YouTuber. I'd love to hear more about the stories where people aren't succeeding, like me. But until next time, keep thinking and being, and do not go gentle into that good night.